This is Trash Talk with your host, Garrett the Trash Man.
This is my rant. Okay, I'm just rolling. This is my rant. And
Okay.
it's about not complaining, not just being committed and doing what's got to be done, however you got to do it, you know? So, here's my issue with the gym we got going on right now. It's smaller. I actually like the size better. I like that there's more rubber everywhere. People that aren't in Snowflake won't understand this completely, but you can get it a little bit. But when there's a class in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the class could take up a quarter of the space that it takes. Every kid doesn't need his own damn barbell. And then, especially when they're weightlifting, they don't need to be right in front of the rack. They can stagger, take up half the space, two kids to a barbell minimum. But for some reason, they spread them out where each kid's got his own barbell. For some reason, they're power cleaning, but they're right in front of the rack. So anyway, I show up this morning, and yep, we got kids in every single rack. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then we got a guy bench pressing in the power rack doing like one set every like 15 minutes. I'm like, whatever. I got squats today. Squats are happening. So I get the plyometric boxes, but obviously, well, not obviously. So at the gym, we've only got one set of those. So you've got just 4 different sizes. So I don't have equal boxes. So I get one box, the tallest box, and I get the second tallest box and stack up 4 25-pound plates on the second box to make it kind of even. That way I could get underneath it with weights on the barbell like a half squat. And then, so I did it a couple times and got to where it was about a quarter squat to get under the weight, just stacking weights up. So I would load up my weight for the squat, step under. That was on this ghetto squat rack made of plyo boxes and 25-pound plates. Do my squats, drop the barbell, unload the weights, put my bar back on the top, load the weights back up, and do my next set.
Hot diggity damn.
Yeah. But that all came from me telling Tyler, we got to get my garage gym set up because I don't want to do that every time. But whether it's your squats at the gym, whether it's work you got to get done, whether it's time you want to spend with a loved one, what I want to get at is just do whatever's necessary to get it done. Adapt, overcome, keep going. Don't be the type of person that one challenge shows up and you run the other way or just use as an excuse to raise the white flag. I think a lot of incredible stuff has come about in this world by someone like, oh, well, the way I've always done it doesn't work. Let me find another way. So,
Ooh, I like that.
that's my rant for today.
Well, first off, I have 2 things to say about that. One, I'm glad you could squat that way. I don't think I could, because I would have to be like probably 3/4 of a squat to get underneath it.
Just got it. More 25s for old John.
I'd have to use like every weight they have in the room to get it high enough. But
That's
secondly, I really like that rant because it kind of goes along with what I was going to rant about. And I had an experience over the last week of basically like when you're presented with something. By the way, guys, I'm going into my rant. When presented with something like, if it doesn't work out how you envisioned it, like, there's always another way. Like, so many times in life, like, I've looked at something, and just because it wasn't how I envisioned it, like, oh, well, it's not how I envisioned it. Guess I can't make that happen. And if you just really take a moment and say, hey, listen, like, let's open my mind and be like, hey, yeah, there's probably another resolution to this that probably creates just as good or better of an outcome and makes everything work like smooth and simple and it's clean. And that was kind of my experience this week of like, hey, I was looking at something that's kind of a pretty important decision for me in my life, and like I was like, man, like I don't know if this is gonna work. And then all of a sudden I was like, no, just look at it differently and like find a different way to do it and make it work so that it does work for you. And I was just like, well, isn't that handy? And I'm so glad I did, because now it's opened up a whole new box of possibilities for me that, like, I was honestly kind of asleep to.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, whoa, hot diggity, that's pretty cool bean stuff. And so, yeah, that's my rant, is kind of going on with Garrett's. Is like, listen, don't run up the old white flag. And if you can find a way to do something differently than how you originally envisioned it, just because the way you envisioned it didn't work, like, guess what? That's like super simple, but if you are willing to like open your mind to that, like, you can create so many other things in your life.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Well, and I think opening your mind, like you said, there's such an important thing, and that's where the fun is, dude. Once you start, then have to get creative to work something out, open up your mind, look at things a new way. That's where the fun comes in. I had an uncle that used to say like that. That's what what would he say? That's what keeps my blood pumping. Anyway, he loved challenges. He ran a business and just loved it, and that really is what makes it fun. Is the new ways when you have to step back and reassess, do it different. So, love it, dude. By the way, everyone, you're listening to Trash Talk.
Oh, yeah. I guess we should tell them we're podcasting.
We are, yeah. If somehow you landed on this and we're still like, I'm listening to these two, but what is this podcast?
Like, who are
It's
these
Trash
guys?
Talk. All right, but let's say thank you to Larson Weiss before we jump into the actual topic of our podcast. And what I want to say about Larson Weiss is, one, they're the world's best trash company. Two, now doing document destruction.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Important documents. Listen, I don't care what business you are. If you've got customer information, it probably needs to be disposed of properly. And you know what's better than paying someone to run through a shredder? First, you pay $300 for that little shredder anyway, and you're paying someone $15 an hour. They're feeding stuff through that shredder one after another, and then the shredder breaks anyway. Screw that. Call us. We roll up in a truck. Boom, shred it, certificate of destruction. Boom, everything's handled. Your documents are destroyed properly. You're avoiding a lot of hassle down the road. Give Larson Weiss a call. We'll handle it. Now, on to the show, John.
Well, Tyler's the one that was telling us.
Yeah, so John, why don't you tell people what we're going to talk about today?
Oh, yeah. Am I going to say this right? The correct, or how to fire someone?
Yes. How to fire someone. So this whole topic, one thing that really bugs me is how in movies or just like kind of the stereotypical thing is like bosses or executives like love firing people. Like they just sit around to be a dick and let someone go and don't think about it. I know a lot of business owners. I know a lot of people in management positions, and I can't think of a single one that enjoys letting people go.
I would actually have to agree with that. That's probably their least favorite thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And even when it's so clear that needs to be the thing that happens, I still don't like it.
Yeah.
It really,
it's not fun.
I lose a lot of sleep when I, cut off them and their families' means of providing for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, let's talk about some not so good ways and some good ways to get this done.
Well, first off, I'd like to share a quick story that happened yesterday. So yesterday, we did our holiday bonuses,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of wanted it to be a surprise, and so we just sent out a text and said, "Hey," and the way they got sent out, instead of a group text, it got sent to each person. Using an app, you can send it as a group text, but it shows up to the other person as a personal text. So one of our ladies calls us up and she's like, "Hey, I got a text. I need to swing by the office and pick something up." And you could tell there's like a lot of trepidation. I'm like, "Yeah, whenever works for you. Just swing by and grab it." And she goes, "Well, what is it?" And I'm like, "Well, it's kind of a surprise." And she's like, and then you could tell she like got a lot of trepidation. And she's like, "Well, what is it?" I'm like, it's a surprise. Like, it's a good thing. Don't worry. And she's like, are you sure it's a good thing? I'm like, it's a good thing. I'm not lying to you. Like, she straight up that I was gonna fire. I was like, no, it's a good thing. It's a surprise for everyone. Everyone has something waiting for them at the office, and we would like you to have it before Thanksgiving. And I think that was enough of a subtle hint. She's like, oh, okay. But like, this girl was like completely petrified that she was gonna get fired. I'm like, no.
Take it easy.
Like, calm down. It's good. Trust me. But anyways, I found it funny that we talked about that, and I had that experience just yesterday. But anyways, back to the subject at hand, because we went down a rabbit hole there. Going back to the good ways and the bad ways. Am I going to go first, or are you going to go first?
Well, I think maybe, I don't know. Let's just talk about it, because there's two ways we go about this, where there's the conversation that happens, and there can be good and bad that happens in that conversation. And there's all sorts of stuff leading up to that can really make a lot of difference in that conversation if you're at the point of letting someone go. So let's leave all that happens before that and what you can do to manage people on your team, where if you show up to that point, you're basically on the same page, which is still not fun, but a lot better than in a lot of places people wander around like that, like, oh man, I can get a call any day and get fired, not really sure why or for what. And a lot, like, I've had that same experience with employees here at Larson Waste, which it's fun, because I'm generally not the person that lets people go. Generally, their manager directly will handle that. But and I've let my fair share of people go, but standard operating procedures, not me doing it, but still, every time I call someone in to come talk to me, lots of times they're really nervous that might be the outcome. So let's talk about what's been your experience just in that conversation of goods and bads that you've learned.
So we have definitely tried to create something around the fact that, like, when we arrived to that conversation, like, it's kind of, now, not every time, but most of the time when we've had to be in that conversation, it's not a surprise to the people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of like, they're typically to the point of like, yeah, I've kind of done enough to deserve this, and understand that, like, this isn't the desired outcome, but this is what's got to happen. And so, usually we come into those conversations of when having to, let someone go and terminate their employment, of like, listen, like, this isn't this shouldn't be a surprise, and if it is, like, we've more than communicated that, like, whatever has caused this, like, isn't working for us, and we've obviously tried to work through it, and so that's kind of typically the dynamic of the conversations. Like, listen, like, we don't love this any more than you do, but, like, it's got to happen. And the thing is like, once you are clear, like, up front when you hire someone, like, listen, like, here's the things that can get you fired, like, that conversation is, I don't want to say easier, but it's less messy.
I'd say it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because we kind of did go to the back part up front, because I think it does start when you hire someone. Mm-hmm. If it's really clear, hey, this is what rolls, this is what's good, this is what's not, and there's these things that will be immediate, no questions asked, you can just count on you will be let go if you do X, Y, or Z.
Yep.
And then these are the things, this is a process of other things that don't work for us here. If you do these, this will be the process.
Yeah.
You'll have a verbal discussion, you'll have a formal written warning, and then there could be termination after that, yada yada. And then there's a bunch of stuff that you can't cover everything.
Yeah.
But I think you're dead on with it. Starts when you hire someone, and if you've already passed that point, start it right away.
Yeah.
Even if someone's doing great for them, bring them in. Say, hey, listen, I don't think I was super clear back here. Not that you've done anything wrong, but I want to talk about all these things. So if we ever ended up there.
We've had to do that
Yeah.
because we didn't do a good job up front the first time.
Yeah. And something that's been huge for us is, like I said, it's not like you can cover everything. And so we are huge on having everything noted down.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't always have to be a big formal written thing where both parties sign it, but I do require my managers to have their conversations, a note of their conversation written down, because what we've found has happened multiple times is, say someone just never does anything so big in a single instance to warrant big disciplinary action, but they are just continually doing things. So I've arrived at the point where someone does that, and we never documented anything, but it's like, we're just done with this person. It seems like he's always a dick, and, he messed up that one thing, and it seems like there was 4 other things he did. I can't remember, but, we're just done. You can do that, but like you said, messy, that's messy.
That is super messy.
But it's way, way cleaner if you just have you or your management team take a few notes every time there's something like, hey, I talked to Billy Bob because he was kind of an asshole to Jack over here.
Yep.
Resolved, that's it. Okay. And then you look back at the file after a quarter and you realize Billy Bob seems to be an asshole to everyone. And I've been thinking, like, I'm kind of fed up with this shit. Like, okay, I can go have a conversation and say, listen, there's been 25 times in this last quarter that I've noted down or said something to you about how you're treating other people here. Another time and we're done. And then it's a lot cleaner, lot cleaner. And that gets to what you said, like you show up to that conversation, and I think it is easier. It is a lot cleaner, and I think it's a lot easier because it's like, dude, like you made that decision. I keep my word, and you tied my hands. Like we were clear on exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, and it makes it to the point of like, I have been in those conversations where, like it was a blindside for the person to them because I didn't do those things, and that's those are the hardest, at least in my experience. Like those are the hardest ones to do because, like, it's warranted, but like it's messy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you like sit them down, like, listen, dude, remember this? Yeah. Remember this? Yeah. Remember this? Yeah. Like we've talked with you in person about these things. Like those things don't work for us, and you knew it. And
so what do we have here?
Like we can't continue this. Like this just doesn't work for us. We want to have a good work environment, not only for us, but for you and for everybody else that works here. And like when the conversation has that dynamic, it is a lot easier and cleaner. And you just have the ability to like, hey, listen, like if it doesn't work, like you kind of dug your own grave here.
Yeah. So kind of going on to just in the conversation of it, because there are circumstances that can lead you there. One, maybe you misbehaved and didn't get it all lined up like you should have. 2, maybe it was just one big thing that brought them to that. Or 3, maybe the position has actually changed. And I'll speak to that one in a conversation as a bad example that I would encourage everyone to avoid. So we had that situation where, in particular, it was to a salesperson. Mm-hmm. And so they had a certain agreement that really just was so disadvantageous to the company at the point that we were at. The position just needed to go away. We were dissolving the position. And that was it. It was just the best move for the company to dissolve that position. Now, in this particular circumstance, when I went to, inform that person that position is not going to be at the company anymore, and so their job no longer exists, and so they don't have a job anymore. Not that they did anything particularly wrong. I looked, instead of looking at that conversation, being intentional of what that conversation was about, I brought that person in and started the whole meeting as if there was not going to be anything changed. So I brought him in just Hey, how you doing? Oh, yeah, how's that going? Oh, good. How's that going? Oh, great. Yeah, and how about that over there? Okay, yada, yada. Did the small talk. I was my happy-go-lucky self, and then it was like, okay, well, listen, we got to talk about this thing, and yeah, boom. And then I kept talking after I dropped the information, like I'm somehow going to say words that will make it all right, where that person leaves here like happy. Yeah, and it was like, man, it was so messy and awkward on both sides because they knew what I was wanting, but it's like it just wasn't there for them, and I stretched it out way longer, beating around the bush, and I learned from that, and I hope other people can learn from that too. Of don't do that. Be really clear on what your intentions are, and know that that's what that meeting's for. Bring the person in. Be very direct with them, right? And hey, take a seat, shut the door, listen, here's the situation. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'll say in those things, the explanation probably doesn't matter. And leave it up to the person if they want to hear more of an explanation. If I could redo the one where the position dissolved, that's all I would have shared. I would have sat down and said, hey, listen, I appreciate everything you've done here. You've been great, and it's best for the company that we dissolve this position, and so there's no longer a position here for you. Sorry for that. Here's your compensation package, and I wish the best for you. And that's it. And I went through, well, let me explain this all to you so you'll see. They don't give a damn.
Yeah.
They now have to figure out how to feed their family.
Yep.
They don't care what's going on. If they're no longer a part of the business, they don't freaking care. It's much more powerful, much more useful for everyone on both sides if you sit them down. And I'll tell you one thing, too. I've had to let people go that are good friends or family members. And in times that I've done a better job of that and not explaining myself and just doing what's best for the company, that's when those relationships have continued and been more meaningful and more powerful relationships afterwards. There may have been a period of time where maybe it's been like, oh, the person doesn't really want to have much to do with me or whatever, but in the long run, they respected me more for doing what was right for the company.
Yeah.
And so that's like, know why you're doing what you're doing and just state what you're doing. That's it.
Make it clean.
Yeah.
Clean and simple is the way to go. I hope my brothers really listen to this podcast. But anyways, but yeah, no, I would agree. I have not had to fire any friends or family. Mostly because none of my friends or family want to work in home care. but no, I'd agree. Those, if you just bring them in and say, hey, listen, like, this is why we're here. Spell it out. Say this is what's happening, and leave it at that. If they have questions, great. If not, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And let's get real quick into the technical side of things. Have someone else present as well.
Yeah.
Someone taking notes, even record it if you need to. I've been in lawsuits afterwards. Quick example, I had a couple drivers that were giving us kickback, giving their managers heck, whatever. We requested a thing of them, and one driver told told his manager to go F off. So his manager was hot, so he just walked away. So he didn't, was afraid that he was actually going to have a confrontation. Called me, let me know. So I walked down my office, walked down there, and let the driver go. And the driver had a buddy here, so he showed up to my office, said, well, if he's gone, then I'm gone too. I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, but there's the door. If you want to quit because he's getting let go, that's fine. You're a great employee. I don't want to see that, but that's your choice. Anyway, well, that all happened, and they ended up, both of them, calling OSHA, making up this story, saying they were fired for all sorts of reasons, and luckily we've done a good job of documentation, things like that. So it was easy. Our lawyer sent over all the documentations, everything we have. It was cut and dry. They had a story. We had a bunch of documentation. That simple. And so you just never know. This can really rock people's world. I would hope that I would never have an issue like that with anyone here, but document and have other people present.
It's incredible how useful that has even been for me. We had a person that it was kind of a different circumstance where in some of the work we do, you can actually hire a family member to take care of a family member, and so what happened is this guy elected to put his mom into a facility and discontinue taking care of her at home. Well, so he calls me up and he says, so, how many hours I'm going to be able to work? I'm like, well, none, because you elected to put her into it. He says, okay, well, it's all right. I'll just go apply for unemployment. And I'm like,
but you're not.
I'm like, wait a minute, Kimo. I don't think you understand this.
You quit.
Yeah, like you resigned, like you quit. You voluntarily said, nah, I don't want to do this anymore.
Uh-huh.
And that's fine. Like, that's your choice. I can't make that choice for you, and I have no desire to influence it for you. Well, then, sure enough, I get a call a little while later, someone from the state wanting to know why he was laid off. And
if you're not running your own business yet, let me tell you, unemployment costs your company.
Oh, yeah.
You pay for that. That doesn't come from the government's magical purse of money.
No.
Their last employers will pay it if there's not cause.
So then I got someone call me up and they're like, hey, why was he let go? He's applying for unemployment. I'm like, whoa. No. He voluntarily gave this up. Like, if he wanted to come back and have that situation again, he could, because he didn't do anything that would have gotten him fired. But like, yeah, no, that's not how this works. And she goes, oh, I don't think he understands that. So then he ended up calling me up a few days later, and he's like, well, how come I can't get unemployment? I'm like, dude, you voluntarily said, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, that's how it works. And he goes, oh, okay. And I don't know what he's up to now, but yeah, that's another example of like, hey, documenting everything and saying, hey, listen, like, yeah, that's how it works. And so anyways, that was another time I saw that documentation and keeping things clean and documented was very helpful.
Yeah, and that paperwork, that bureaucracy can be a huge pain in the butt, but it's saved us here at the company already tens of thousands of dollars. So it's worth the time and the effort. I know I get a lot of kickback from my managers at times. Oh, do I have to write that down? It's not a big deal. I'm like, hey, you don't think so now, but you never know. We've had all-star employees totally flip around to huge headaches, huge hassles, and if we would have documented the process along the way, it would have been big lifesaver. So do it. And
just do it.
Ideally, no one ever has to get fired, so work for that. But when it's got to get done, do what's best for the company. Realize what you're most committed to, and do that. So appreciate you guys listening. Check out our YouTube channel that Tyler has got looking fresh to watch us talk to you, not just hear us talk to you.
Yeah.
And let us know about topics. We've loved people sending in topics. That's been awesome. So appreciate you guys listening. Peace.
Thank you.